Today we're going to drive the all-new generation of the Toyota Prius. Such an important vehicle for Toyota. It started the whole electrification of the brand, and now for the first time it's a beautiful vehicle. It was never known for the best design or something, more for its economy. It's hybrid or plug-in hybrid recently. This one is also the plug-in hybrid version called Prime in the North American market. But no matter which version you pick, now it has a very cool and fluent design already here in the front. Look at that contrasting silver part in the lower end, and the headlamp signature, very dramatic. That looks pretty fancy. So now you can say you buy one for emotional reasons as well. The length now at 4.60 meters or 181 inches. Actually, it is a little bit shorter than the predecessor, but the wheelbase is now 5 centimeters or 2 inches longer, hopefully translating into more legroom. And I mean, from the outside, it looks really so stunning with this fluent design. It's also a wider track, lower center of gravity, stiffer from the chassis. Hopefully this will also translate into a better driving experience. And will there be any compromises from this whole layout and design from the interior space? We'll find out soon. Wheels 17, or here the optional 19-inch wheels, the bigger ones, looks also quite cool. And you can see here the contrasting design wheel arch in high gloss black. Towards the rear we can see they have this fading out effect of the light signature in the rear. I get the idea, but I think just a through light strip would have been more beautiful even. And the big Prius lettering all the way across, also a clean, beautiful design in the rear. And to me this changes so much, because with this new beauty approach, it's not only that they would say, hey, I only consider it against the Honda Civic or maybe internally against the Corolla Hybrid. I think now it can also be considered maybe even to German mid-size vehicles, like, you know, Mercedes C-Class, BMW 3 Series or the Audi A4. Or what's your take on that? Would like to hear your comments. Turning indicators in the front, that looks pretty spectacular, doesn't it? Turning indicators at the rear, not that spectacular, but at least they're wide enough. I think it's always a safety thing, because recently we saw this trend from a lot of vehicles, beginning with the Tesla Model 3, that they're so tiny and then you can hardly see them, but that way, it's okay. And look at how far the Prius has come design-wise. This is the first generation Prius. Let's take it that way. Design-wise, it doesn't win too many competitions. And even here the second generation Prius, what a huge difference to the all-new one, isn't it? The key fob is not that decent, I have to say. Door closing sound. That sounds weird though. Disappointed with that. However, cool is inside of the door material, also with soft touch, nice structure to feel, even softer here for your elbow. Seats start with fabric, and this is then in a higher grade, the full leatherette with perforation. Also with seat cooling is available, that combination, also in some markets called Softex. Seating position is really comfortable, both from the seat ergonomics and very soft, these high-grade leatherette materials. Of course, the fabric seat will also be soft in the base version. And then here headroom with 6'2" or 189. It's no problem. Also tall drivers. That's surprising because the roofline is so low, but it works actually. So good driving position, low sedan alike. Very happy with that. Interior cockpit overview, clean but also straightforward, because a lot of the controls, steering wheel here, still real buttons, even a volume knob and so on. Soft touch here, good materials, nice deco element. You can view the instruments. It's not blocked because here that steering wheel can be moved very much down. That's to me pretty cool, and also towards me. So overall, I really like this first cockpit impression. Digital instruments, clear to read, and they are indeed in your line of sight, so that's very well done. And here you can also deactivate this new EU law thing that's connected here with the traffic sign assist, that it recognizes the speed limit, and when you deactivate that, then you can also activate the acoustic beep when you exceed the speed limit. Yeah, that's the thing I will also discuss in the driving part. Only disadvantage here of this display is you see it collects dust, and when you try to clean it also with the microfiber, it doesn't really help, so kind of weird surface. Infotainment system is now quicker and also kept relatively basic. This one is the bigger 12.3 inch. It would start in some markets with 8 inch, but here in Europe, for example, you only get this one. You can see this, the solar roof results so far. So this is like an entire battery charging that can take like a week when it is in the sun. It depends on how sunny it is where the car is standing. So a couple of kilometers or miles per day. So then you switch either to the car internal GPS, which is decently responsive. Most of the time you probably use Apple CarPlay and Auto. You read it here with this hotkey or on the top part. Wired or wireless, you can pick that. You can see also it's actually smooth and responsive. So I'm really happy with the system overall. Not a specially branded sound system here, but I think has good punch and a great sound for this vehicle. I really appreciate this classic climate unit here. Temperature control and the feedback you get is really good. Vent strength, and also here seat heating separate button, seat cooling separate button. Here the perforated leatherette seat with the seat cooling, and this here, especially at level 3, is really strong, really cools you down in summertime when it's very hot. Awesome. Lower middle console, USB-C charging. This is the connector. This is charging only. And then you have this storage here, and underneath you can just lift it or take this out completely. And there is the hidden compartment. Yeah, and it even says #hidden compartment. Cup holders are adaptive and good quality and really holds bottles tight. Middle console here. This is the shifting lever, like this, to drive mode. And when you put it back, it goes to the B mode. Here in the plug-in hybrid, this is indeed just a stronger recuperation, but not as strong as one-pedal driving feeling. Here, drive mode to sport mode, for example, for better throttle input or the steering feeling. And these buttons here, they switch between the predominant EV mode or the auto mode. Vehicle selects itself. And this is then when you want to sustain the battery charge. Middle console, really soft, nice, but then just this attachment, this is not that much premium-like. Underneath, 2 more USB-C chargers, some space. Classic back mirror, or you can switch it around, then you have this camera view. Pretty cool hidden door handles for the rear doors with electric help and door closing sound. It's actually a little bit better in the rear than in the front. Here, this is the manual fail-safe should everything fail, and you have to press it deep in there. That's what I said. And then, yeah. Then, yeah, like this. Then you can also open it. But of course, usually this works fine. Then inside of the doors is hard pack, here in a lighter, dark gray color. And you have some decent space in the rear. In the higher trims also with seat heating for the rear seats and so on. USB-C chargers. But can I sit there properly when there's also a tall driver? Remember, this is also frequently used for taxi, Uber, Lyft drivers because of the economy, also in the hybrid version. Legroom-wise, no problem, even if a tall driver is driving in front of me. Headroom, of course, here the entry can be a problem, you know, so you shouldn't hit your head. But then on the inside is, here with 189, 6'2", it does directly fit. So you shouldn't be taller than me, but for my size it works. My hair is slightly touching the ceiling. So let's say a little compromise as for the design, but for most heights in the rear, it does still work. You can also sit in the middle part. It's decently soft. Of course, the outside parts are more comfortable, and also here with the legroom and so on. And then you have this cup holder armrest, more basic and also not adaptive. Overall, I think it still works okay. The only compromise I would say is really like this entry that you have to check or tell your passengers, hey, don't hit your head. I like, by the way, that they have the bright ceiling from the inside here. Trunk capacity is now at 280 liters, that's 30 liters more than before. This classic fastback opening. The only thing I don't like is here this wobbly cover on top. Not sure what they thought about that. The trunk is not that high, but however, length 80 centimeters approximately here in the normal length, so 31 inches, and the width here is about 90 centimeters or 36 inch. So here the height is limited here to about like just between 30 and 40 centimeters, like 13 to 16 inches. So that's the only limitation. But of course you could take this one out and then go a little bit higher here. And you can also grab over from here and then just push everything through for the full loading length. Another detail I didn't really pay attention to is here, when you lift this one up, I couldn't have at least made that black. Maximum loading length, by the way, around 175 in meters or 68 inches. As for engines, you get a 1.8 liter hybrid with 140 horsepower or a 2 liter hybrid with around 200 horsepower. Optionally, they also deliver an electric motor at the rear for this electric all-wheel drive. And then there's the plug-in hybrid model, PHEV or the Prius Prime. This one here is a 2 liter engine with 220 horsepower approximately, and with 6.8 seconds in the acceleration figure to 1 kilometers an hour, 62 miles an hour, the plug-in hybrid version is also the quickest one overall. They focus on the plug-in hybrid in the European market, so you cannot get the inbuilt hybrids there. On the Northern American market, for example, there will still be a heavy focus on the inbuilt hybrid. Battery size for the plug-in hybrid now upgraded to 13.6 kilowatt hours. That's the gross figure, however the buffer is not that large. How much real-world range pure electric driving does it mean for the Prius Prime? We'll find out in the driving part very soon. While on the driver's side you have the fuel cap, on the passenger side here you have the AC charging, 3.3 kilowatt max, not too much, but it's more thought, you plug it in a wall box at home and so on. Not sure how you can see it on camera. This one here is the optional solar roof. You can either get a fixed glass roof to look through, or this one, then you cannot look through. And this solar roof here is sometimes also combined with the highest trim level and so on. It can charge the vehicle actually, that does work, and it directly charges the main battery, so there's no additional battery for that or something. And it is paying off when you are maybe living in a state or country with a lot of sun and you have the car outside. So they say a couple of kilometers or miles per day, or about a week to charge the battery once completely full. Again, it totally depends on where the car is parked and how much sun you have. So only paying off when there's a lot of sun and you have the car outside all week. That's 50 kilometers an hour. Pretty cool. Front wheel drive only. Combination of electric motor and combustion engine. You heard it went on. Also gave us some RPM. That was decently quick. And you maybe also heard we had a little bit of wheel spin because I really floored it down. Of course, that doesn't happen too often that you do that, especially like in this surrounding and so on. But even though there was like a little bit of wheel spin, it was actually very well controllable. You've maybe seen I didn't have to correct anything, much on the steering wheel and so on. Yeah, pretty cool. That was a lot of fun. And one of the key elements here of driving the all-new Prius is, that counts for all the versions, it really feels sporty. So the center of gravity is lower, also because of the different battery placement, wider track, and that gives us indeed a very nice and sporty driving experience. And especially if you go like here, left and right like this, it's really a lot of fun. So it holds what it promises on the exterior. Now the exterior design is emotional and sporty, so is the driving experience. You maybe heard these beeping sounds. This is a new regulation, which this guy is obviously not taking into account in the European Union. When you exceed the speed limit, even though here at the moment I'm like 2 kilometers an hour over the speed limit, which is like nothing. But even then it gets activated because you need to have like the real threshold. But you know that the tachometer always goes a little bit in advance, that the manufacturer can be sure also for, like suing reasons and so on, that they're not responsible when you go over that speed limit. They say like, hey, the tachometer was like too low or something. However, you can also deactivate it, but in this case here, you have to go deep in this menu here, switch it, doing that while driving, then you deactivate the, this traffic sign recognition. Yeah, Mercedes recently created like a hotkey in the infotainment system with their new vehicles. The problem is when you deactivate it, it always gets activated again when you restart the vehicle. That's the issue, actually. Yeah, so I talked to the Toyota guys and they are also thinking about putting a hotkey somewhere that you can deactivate it in a little easier way or something, because it is on one hand a good thing, on the other hand it can also be pretty annoying. Here in city traffic, after a while its first acceleration, the combustion engine calmed down again. Now we're in the pure EV mode once again. You can set this preset, like this auto preset or this forced EV mode. This will be more or less the same. The EV mode will basically have predominantly EV driving, but when you floor it down pedal, it will still activate the combustion engine for safety reasons. For example, when you suddenly need more acceleration, want to get on the motorway or something. And in the auto mode, the car will even more decide on its own which mode is the best at this given moment. Yeah, I think most of the time you can just leave it in auto mode. And then you also have this pedal preset here for normal or sport mode. the throttle input then changes a little bit. Let's see about the steering input. Normal mode, sport mode. Now the guy behind me thinks I'm totally crazy. Yeah, maybe a little bit, but I don't feel too much difference here in the steering. Yeah, a little bit more resistance, a little bit more. That was actually quite likable. But overall, the steering feeling is great. It is very light to control, so you can easily move this car around also when parking and so on. At the same time, it does give you a nice feedback. So I know exactly what I'm doing, and it's just so much fun to drive the new Prius. So this is, to me, the key thing really about this vehicle. It's so much more fun than the outgoing generation. Just cruising around in the city at lower speeds is really so much fun. The main difference between driving the hybrid and the plug-in hybrid, or Prime called in the North American market, will be that here, with the plug-in hybrid, we will have definitely more pure electric driving. We will see about the pure electric consumption, and at the end of the review here, driving part, we'll tell you what is our real-world range estimate pure electric here for the Prius Prime, or the Prius plug-in hybrid. And with the normal hybrid, inbuilt hybrid, you will have more switching between electric mode and normal combustion engine. There, once again, the 2-liter hybrid engine will be a little bit more efficient than the 1.8 because it is, like, so to speak, a newer generation. Even if you just use the electric drive here, you can significantly accelerate even before the combustion engine hops on, so that's actually fine. Also a lot of fun. And the top speed, just EV mode, is 130 kilometers an hour, around 80 miles an hour, whereas the overall top speed then, motorway with combustion engine on, 180 kilometers an hour or 112 miles per hour. And now we'll also do some motorway driving for you. Yeah, super silent here in the EV mode, and then when we go on the motorway, you will at some point also hear the combustion engine going on once again. Yeah, I would say like most of the time you will just leave it in the normal driving mode here, this preset, and also in the auto mode, then the vehicle does everything for you. These driving modes, let's say, for some vehicles, they have a significant influence of how the car feels. Here it doesn't change that much, so you can just as well, this by like a green arrow. Now I could turn, not, I wasn't driving at red light, like the main traffic light was red, but then there was this green arrow. That's, by the way, also so cool when I drive in the US, recently been to California again, that you can always turn at the intersection, even at red, when you stop and then turn right. That's actually pretty cool. In Germany, it's just sometimes with, these traffic lights possible, or when there's like a fixed green arrow in certain intersections, then it's also possible. So now 80 kilometers an hour, so like 50 miles an hour, something like that. And so far it's really silent. This car now feels so much more settled on the road overall. So also here on the motorway, it feels sportier, and in a way it is sportier, but also more relaxed, because when the car is better to control actually, then you also feel safer in a way. Also with the suspension here, there is the 19-inch wheels we have here, so the bigger ones, but although these are the bigger wheels, the suspension feels absolutely fine. So that's also cool. Good suspension. When we have some bumps in the road, didn't notice anything bad or so on. It is more than comfortable enough. At the same time, when I do some slalom, the car does not significantly shape up. So, like, from all the hardware things, steering, suspension, how smooth the car feels, acceleration-wise, both in the pure electric and on the hybrid mode, they're really on top of their game. So this car has been improved in basically every single aspect, especially as for the driving feel. Assistance systems, there is, for example, the adaptive cruise control, and you can set it here on the steering wheel and increase the speed or decrease. Active lane keeping assist, can you activate or deactivate here? And let's see, this is a narrow construction lane side, and the car doesn't have too many lines available, so here sometimes it reacts like notably, but so far actually quite smooth. And this is also something they did here in the new generation. They really worked on all the assistance systems and upgraded everything, so a more elaborated assistance systems pack. There's also blind spot monitor available. You have the visual warning plus an acoustic warning when you, for example, set the turning indicator. And it also gives you this additional acoustic warning. So assistance systems wise, also a very nice upgrade. And I always appreciate that while driving, I can still easily access the climate unit and control that. So I think a very good user interface. I can have my modern Apple CarPlay, Android Auto connection right there. Still access everything manual with pressing a button. Also steering wheel heating left next to the steering wheel. That's actually fine. And looking to the instruments, I really don't need a head-up display here because they are placed relatively high. And here it's also possible to put the steering wheel quite low. In the Peugeot models, for example, there we often had that something was blocking this instrument cluster view. It's not the case here. I think very well placed, also high up above, that you can always see that while driving. In comparison to the BZ4X, the pure electric model, some things feel quite similar because you have the same stalk column here, the whole steering wheel and so on. They have that all in common. And then again, you sit really, really lower. BZ4X, more this crossover SUV concept. Here, of course, you get the sportier feeling. But you might think at some point, why didn't they also go for a pure EV version with the Prius here? It would have definitely fitted, because here with the plug-in hybrid at the moment, driving pure EV all the time, and it's actually quite cool, you know, really enjoying driving with the pure EV mode here. And now what about going faster from, let's see, go to sport mode, from 90 kilometers an hour. Let's see, with the combustion engine on, let's go. $120. Oh, there we go. $150. Now we hear something from that engine, and let's get to top speed. Now approaching 180. So that's 183. Yeah, that is top speed. So yeah, of course it's not a performance vehicle, but that you can also see the top speed when we can show it here to you on the German Autobahn, where is unlimited speed. So far, also feels really planted at these higher speeds. The only thing I do notice and criticize is 100 kilometers an hour, 60 miles an hour, and you don't have any additional noise from other vehicles around. Then you tend to notice here some wind noise coming here from that area from the side mirror. That is not ideal. Didn't expect that. And the second thing I do criticize is this steering wheel column. When the steering wheel is basically straight like this, it's more that you steer a little bit to the right, you know. So yes, like you drive straight when it's more or less straight, but then it's not aligned with the steering column. So I have the feeling like this, I would drive a little bit more to the right. Maybe it's just a little notch, but yeah, I noticed these kinds of things. Also noticed that in the city traffic, for example. But overall, also very good driving behavior here when we're higher speed. Also do a lane change on the Autobahn. That actually feels pretty cool. So yeah, from all the driving features here, really, really like it. Let's get off here. One more. Dynamic driving. Still really fast, and now on the corner, let's see if it pushes me in any way. Now a little bit on the brakes. Good brake blending also from recuperation to rear brakes. Yeah, it feels so nice and planted in the corner. So much sporty fun. Yeah, really so positively surprised by the new driving behavior here of the Prius. Efficiency result here for the plug-in hybrid Prime test drive. Really impressive. Have around 12 kilowatt hours on 100 kilometers. So that's more than 5 miles per kilowatt hour. That's really super efficient. Here, of course, in this case, mild temperatures. And you've, or maybe also seen it here, we drove around 70 kilometers, pure electric, and still 18% of battery left. We start at the full battery, so you can like almost easily go like 100 kilometers or 60 miles pure electric in ideal conditions with that one here. That is really very, very efficient indeed. And then you have to think about that even if that is all depleted, you still get the combustion engine from a fuel tank range. Yeah, so overall, that's really hard to beat. Maybe by the small internal competitor, the Toyota Corolla hybrid, or if you rather want to go to the competitors brand-wise, check out the review of the Honda Civic.